A lockout in Major League Baseball might be coming. We have gotten more news about the possible CBA that is going to happen at the end of the 2026 MLB season. There are a lot of new details coming out. Major League Baseball is doing a lot of the pushing of these details in this narrative, and we're going to go through everything that we've learned so far, as well as the new stuff about changing contract lengths, changing how much players can make, changing the minimums, qualifying offers. There's so much to go over, but first, of course, make sure you guys are subscribed to the Windup over here on YouTube. Over 50% of you watching are not yet subscribed, so click that sub button so you don't miss out on the baseball content, especially for your lockout content over here. And if you're listening to us Apple Podcasts, Spotify, anything, drop us a rating, drop us a review, download, and subscribe. But first, I want to give a quick shout out to today's sponsor, SeatGeek. The baseball season is in full swing. We got the All-Star break coming up. You're going to want to go to some events. Use our code WINDUP10 to get 10% off any MLB tickets. What's also great is that SeatGeek is the official ticket marketplace of Major League Baseball, which means that your tickets are fully guaranteed and fulfilled instantly right after you purchase. There's also World Cup finals, tickets to concerts, comedy festivals, and so much more. For us, our personal favorite feature is their SeatGeek score. That's where SeatGeek takes tickets and rates them on a scale of 1 to 10 to let you, the buyer, know if you're getting a good deal or not. So when you're looking for tickets and you see a score closer to 10, or you see that green dot on the map, that means it's a good deal. When looking for tickets and you see a score closer to 1 with a red or even orange dot on the map at times, that means not a great deal. You don't need to buy those tickets. So once again, we've got the hookup for you guys over here on the Windup. Use our code WINDUP10 to get 10% off any MLB tickets on SeatGeek. Click the link in the description right now, download the SeatGeek app, use our code WINDUP10 to get 10% off any MLB tickets on SeatGeek. Thank you to SeatGeek for sponsoring today's video. James, tell me what you're thinking, because this is the hot topic of baseball today.
No, this stuff is ridiculous. We know it's different than the usual content we do in this channel, but we wanted to talk about it with you guys because this is a huge deal. And just to give a little recap of the last 3 proposals, details that have come out over the last 3.5, 4 weeks now or so.
I think start with the biggest one today, though. Start with present day.
Biggest one present day today is that we want to start now limiting what kind of contracts players are able to get, which to me is insane. Maximum 5-year contracts with a maximum of $200 million. That is right there, clear as day, completely destroying players' ability to earn. And this comes on the heels of a few weeks ago, a $240 million cap with a $170 million floor. And then last week, sneaking in completely under the radar, not even a part of this, the fact that we want to even further kind of kill the minor leagues, not allow high school players to come directly from high school to the major league draft in a way to offload development to college baseball. Just every single thing against the players, against the players, against the players. Pure bad faith, disingenuous bargaining by Major League Baseball.
Yeah, so right now, the new CBA proposal would cap free agent contracts at 5 years for players changing teams, 6 years if you're staying with the same team through something that they're calling the cornerstone player provision. This would take effect after the 2027 season, and of course needs to be a part of the next CBA if it were to happen. This is very similar to what the NBA does. You guys probably, if you do follow the NBA, you see every offseason sign-in trades. You probably don't really understand why that happens, but it's so the player can get the max deal but go to a team that they want to. It's a backwards way around free agency, and the way that it's currently being set up by Major League Baseball, it is effectively going to kill Major League Baseball free agency, because the difference with changing teams as well as staying with your team is so massive that these players now really kind of don't have a choice. If you're a max contract player, you have to sign with the same team that you're at, because the max difference right now, if you sign the 6-year deal to stay with your team, I think it goes up to $265 million over the 6 years that you could get as a max. If you change teams, it's 5 for $202. That is a massive, massive difference in how much money you could be making.
Totally. And the intention behind it of helping small market teams retain their stars, that right there, that's purposeful. And I understand that. We want that to happen. And that is something now that's happening in the NBA. But the opposite kind of happens in the NBA now, where the players take all the power. They understand the only way they can get their max contract is signing it with their original team. They sign that deal, and then they demand a trade anyway. And then we get the most complicated, convoluted trade discussions, negotiations, where as a casual NBA fan, it's impossible to keep track of what's going on at all times.
Yeah, I mean, LaMelo Ball just got traded for like 30 picks that are probably never even going to be made by the team that got the picks, being the Charlotte Hornets. It just becomes a complete mess.
Puzzle.
The fact, it's a puzzle. And the fact that Honestly, free agency has been relatively simple, I think, in Major League Baseball compared to other sports where you want a guy, you give him a contract that you feel comfortable giving, and he has the option to choose where he wants to go. Now you're limiting that option, that freedom, that ability to choose. I know there are a ton of you listening to this right now that do not care about what it means for the players, and you want your small market team or you want your big market team, whatever it is, you want a limit. You want a salary cap, you want a salary floor, but I'm trying to at least implore you guys to listen to what we're going to have to say here, because the salary cap floor thing is totally, it is like, it's a veil. It's not really true, and everything that's going to go on with it is actually not really going to cause more. What Major League Baseball is releasing right now is like competitive play, making it fair for the smaller market teams.
Yeah, 100%. There's no debate that there's massive economic disparity in baseball.
Yes.
We'll never say that's true, because teams like the Mets, the Dodgers, the Yankees, and the Red Sox, when they care about competing, once in a while, the Astros, the Phillies, the penalties that have been put in place for, like, quote unquote, overspending haven't stopped them from overspending. It hasn't done anything to curtail them whatsoever. In fact, it's almost made them bolder at times. They honestly give less of a damn about going through it. But I still don't think these proposals actually help those other teams compete. All they're doing is helping them all save money and help them save face with their fan base. And then this whole thing with the cornerstone player limiting the 5 years. Sure, you'll get now your cornerstone players for longer in their prime. But one thing I wanted to say about what I feel like is underscoring this entire thing is that I think the Juan Soto contract scared the bejesus out of every single one of these owners.
Oh, it totally did, because one of the things that's also been talked about as part of the new CBA has to do with the shrinking of the minor league system even more. Well, I guess they're technically not going to shrink it, but they're going to put a lot of the player development now into colleges. You're not going to be able to enter the MLB draft through high school. You'll be able to enter earlier from college.
As sophomore, yeah.
As sophomore. But direct quotes from the press release is about how they want to offload the player development to the college programs. And by offloading the development to the college programs, by not allowing younger players in, it actually stops players from Juan Soto happening again, because you can't hit the free agent market at a younger age. A player of Juan Soto, if he was 29 years old and the exact same player he was, he could not get the contract he had. It was the perfect, I guess, marriage of, perfect storm of, he was 25, 26 years old. He was one of the 5 best players in baseball. And I think the biggest markets in all sports wanted him. So he literally was going to get a contract we have never seen before. And now with how quickly players have been moving through the minor league system, Major League Baseball is going, we've made a mistake. We might be seeing more and more and more of these contracts. Ronald Acuna Jr. probably would have been one of these contracts. Injuries hurt him a little bit, but the Braves got ahead of it. Like, this is something that Major League Baseball is terrified of, and that's why they want to implement that system.
And also, as we've spoken about in this channel before, it's just much more likely for players who come through the international system. And there is an international draft component of this all, too, where they want to change.
Yes.
They add one in instead of international free agency. But players who come from the international side are more likely to sign these big extensions before debuting, because oftentimes, obviously, they're starting out with less money family-wise than the players who are rising up through the ranks and coming through the American system, because baseball is just a wealthier youth sport in America.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like simply an economics thing. Like, typically the American players that are going to be drafted out of high school and college are just going to have foundationally more wealth than the people from Dominican Republic and these other countries.
So it's much easier then to convince a young man who's going to possibly be a generational talent to take less money up front rather than take the risk of waiting and getting the Juan Soto contract. But again, like you mentioned, the way that player development has changed in baseball over the last few years, the way that players are shooting through their systems quicker, the way that Major League Baseball has incentivized teams to call them up sooner, you're getting into situations where many more players can hit free agent that honey spot right there, 25, 26, 27 years old, and get these contracts that are really, really scary to small market teams.
And just because they can still make, 5 years, $202 million
Incredible
when they hit free agency. Incredible amount of money, obviously. It's over $40 million a year. Doesn't mean that these teams are going to do it, because there's going to be a cap that's put in place in conjunction with this, and that's the max that you can give. All these teams in the sport will know that. They're just going to keep trying to see how low they can actually go. You're not going to see many guys hit free agency and actually hit that max if this were to happen.
No, even the part about the players are able to leave college as sophomores. Ken Rosenthal had a good article about this on The Athletic, and there was an SEC coach that was interviewed in it. And he basically said, if you're going to the SEC to play baseball, he calls it a grown man league.
Yes.
You're not really able to win the SEC and really make noise in the college baseball tournament if you have 2, 3, 4 freshmen in your starting lineup or in your rotation. That's just not really how that conference works for baseball.
Except Oklahoma.
But again, well, let's see what happens the rest of this tournament. But
No, they won. It's over.
Oh, it's over. They won.
Yeah, Oklahoma won it all.
Oh, I thought the finals were this week. My bad.
No.
Totally missed on that one. Again, you're the college baseball
so.
guy, but just that, you're still not as likely to leave early unless it's a crazy developmental story. Again, it would be kind of a black swan event. It still just continues to push baseball players back later and later and later. And again, college baseball isn't really the best place for development. You see 50 pitch innings, 170 pitch outings. You see guys pitching on 3 days rest.
Quinn Matthews, I think, threw like 150 pitches in a game right before he was getting drafted.
Probably
and
something.
Quinn Matthews had a litany of arm injuries.
Remember Will Bednar? Remember what he did
Yeah.
for Mississippi State in 2021, the college baseball World Series? And then what's happened to him in his injury status as a prospect? Like, it's just not a place where player development is prioritized. That happens in the minor leagues, but the minor leagues are less profitable, I'm sure, for that reason, because sometimes you're not putting the best baseball product on the field. There's things happening in the minor leagues this year across the lower levels where teams just don't have enough pitchers because teams are much, much more serious about the workloads of all the pitchers, where you have close games where you have position players pitching. And again, that's a bad product as well. There has to be something that happens in between. But bottom line, it's not even close to the best interest of the players, not even close to it, to offload this development to college baseball. All it does is put more money in the owners' pockets, which is the underlying theme of every single proposal here.
And the one thing I will say to credit Major League Baseball, this will be the last time I ever do it for these negotiations, is going to be under these rules, Rob Manfred and Major League Baseball are doing what is absolutely best for the owners. And that is their job. That is what they're supposed to do. That's why Rob Manfred was brought in as commissioner all these years ago. He's one of the best litigators that this country's seen in terms of labor and negotiations for these mega corporations. At the same time, I think it's very important that as fans to know that everything that you're being fed from certain outlets, there's going to be bias with everything. And it does right now, because one of the lines that was released by, let me get the name from, I can't find it right now. But, MLB spokesperson Glenn Kaplan. The biggest issue baseball fans wanted to solve is to strengthen the game, is fixing the payroll disparity that leaves too many fans without hope of their team competing for a World Series title. So they're offloading the blame from the ownership that refused to spend money, but because actually the Dodgers and the Yankees and the Red Sox, not the Mets because we suck, and the Phillies, they want to win too much. That's too much of a problem. They're trying to win too hard with the money that they have, as opposed to some of these owners who are going, we're a little bit more worried about the margins, and that sucks for fans. That is terrible. Like, I feel bad for Reds fans. I feel bad for Pirates fans. I feel bad for these small market teams because their owners are lame. But it's also their business and they can run it however they want. That being said, I wish that we had more owners that spent like everybody else. And I do think that the bigger issue is the ownership groups rather than how the game is actually played out and laid out in terms of the rules.
100%. And that's also why there's a good bit of red meat that was at least specifically thrown into the proposal that went out today on June 25th when we're recording this. No deferred contracts. That's something that fans harp on. That's something that fans want out of the game. When I think in reality, it doesn't really matter at all. And most teams do it. It's not really just the Dodgers or the big market teams. Shohei's the obvious one.
I think the players like it.
I actually think the players don't really like it because less money in their pockets right away. Like, money today is more valuable than money tomorrow.
Why do these guys keep accepting it then?
Because I think maybe it's just something they can throw in to get more value in their contract in total. Maybe some of these guys, again, just want more security later on. But I do think that if I was ever in a negotiation and was like, I'll defer some of your money, I'd be like, no, can I just have that money now so that I can invest it and then make that money work for me rather than let inflation hit that money later on? And again, another bone that was thrown to the players in today's proposal is no more qualifying offer, because that is a big thing that stops player income, player earnings a lot as well. But just every single thing comes down to the fact that these owners kind of know how to play the game a lot more, especially with the media. And I think another big reason why that happened is in the first salary cap proposal, they proposed a 50-50 revenue split. That was the thing. They were like, we're going to do a salary cap, but it's always going to move in accordance with league revenue. The NFL and the NBA do this. Both those caps go up a ton. I think NHL does that as well. So those caps go up a lot. That's how player money keeps going up a lot. So Shea Gilgeous-Alexander's signing a contract that's going to give him $1 million per game next year. But MLB has done a really good job over the last few years of deciding what MLB revenue is. So like MLB revenue is like tickets, local TV revenue. it's not really like the casino that's going to be around Citi Field. It's not really the 100 restaurants around the Battery where everyone's there for a baseball
the
game.
land that's owned by some of these owners that also
no,
goes
of
along
course
with
not.
the stadiums and teams that they own.
And Bruce Meyer, the head of the Players Association, came out after that last proposal and was like, we'll be open to that. Can you open your books then? Can we see what the local revenue looks like? And MLB was like, whoa. You guys don't have to see that.
You want to see our books? You
books?
can't see those.
And
that's
it's
like, what was it, when Will Arnett tried to be the boss in The Office towards the later seasons?
Yeah.
He's like, I've got a 5-step plan. They're like, can you tell us what? He's going,
No.
tell you my plan?
Tell you
Well,
my
you can
plan.
use it.
And it's also the same thing where, to me, it still doesn't address a lot of the core issues for the Players Union right now, which is the fact that the median MLB salary is still the league minimum. And we've seen over the years, Major League Baseball teams, owners, front offices are going away from veterans, are going towards young players. And it's more cost effective. It's better value. And that's kind of where we're at right now, where a lot of these older guys are losing their jobs more quickly. And these other guys, again, league minimum is still $750,000, $800,000 right now. It's great money, amazing salary. Any one of us listening, probably. I don't know who's listening exactly, but we'd be thrilled to have
Most
that.
of us.
Most of us, probably 99% of you guys watching and listening would be thrilled to make that money per year. But that's something that's a core issue that needs to be addressed. The MLB seems to be totally ignoring still.
Yeah, I mean, they did say that they'd raise the minimum salary to $1 million a year for the players, and I do think that that is also an attempt to try and drive a little stake because majority of the league is, like you said, on that contract. So majority of the league's going, I just got a $250,000 pay raise for doing absolutely nothing for a job that I may not even hold very long. Let me get as much money as possible, along with the fact that they're going to allow players to reach 5 years of service by age 30 to hit free agency earlier. You mentioned eliminating the qualifying offer deferred contracts, also increasing the pre-arbitration bonus pool from 50 to 65 million. Again, this is taking care of theoretically more of the players because there are more of those younger players that fall in this pool. There are more pre-arb players every single year than there are free agents. But at the same time, we know that this is not really actually how to go about this, and this is a lot of lip service.
And even lip service in the salary cap proposal, $240 million. That did not account for bonuses against the salary cap that would take away. They said that would account for moving costs for players that with the team covered, translators, amateur signing bonuses, any fees that you have. Like that is just, you keep taking away. And they want this by 2027. Most of the league is not either below the cap or above the floor. If you count the teams that are both below the floor and above the cap, you're at like 70% of the league right there. How do you do that in 1 year?
I actually don't have a clue how you could possibly do that. Like, how does a team like the Marlins realistically get to the floor in 1 year, especially when there are going to be other teams competing to get to the floor? And then you're basically, like, if you're not, you have to grandfather teams in that are above the ceiling. What are you going to do with that? You're going to force them to get rid of money?
And these other teams, they still get so much money in revenue sharing every year.
Yeah.
And they don't spend that. Like, if you just were to force the revenue sharing teams to spend not even 100%. I'll let you guys keep 20% of it. Spend 80% of the money you receive from revenue sharing. Instantly, this game would be more competitive. More of these free agents, the older free agents, would get jobs, 2 or 3 year contracts with the other teams. Again, wouldn't be the best contracts in the world. The team like the Dodgers, Kyle Tucker right now, looks like one of the worst contracts in baseball. And
it looks horrible.
They're just happily eating it because they just want to make their team a little bit better. And one of the small market teams that's done their best to break out of this is the Padres. And if you looked at the Padres books right now, you'd probably throw up as an accountant.
Yes.
Seems horrific. You know what else? They just sold for $5 billion.
Yep. The smallest market, I think, in sports in America?
Mm-hmm. One of the smallest, yeah. And whoever bought them didn't give a shit about the $300 million in team debt. They were like, yeah, you know how valuable this asset is? And that's the one thing that these teams oddly forget is how valuable they are asset-wise. You can borrow that money, invest in your team, build a winning product, let all the fans come, and make money hand over fist.
I think the motto of the Windup, things that we've said before in videos, is that you have the billionaires versus the millionaires. And in this scenario, I'm going to side with the millionaires. I think it's hard for people to wrap their head around the idea. It's like, oh, you play a game. This is a child's game. You get paid millions and millions of dollars. What about the billionaires that own this team? Again, they have every right to run their business how they please. If you are, you could be Steve Cohen and say, I'm going to cut costs and I'm going to just cash in checks and make money with the New York Mets. That's how he wants to run it. He's totally allowed to do so. But I think once we limit how much an owner can spend, as well as force an owner to spend a certain amount of money, really start to muddle the game. And then you're just the NBA, which is a legitimately horrible product.
terrible product. But also, again, the MLB right now can tout an unbelievable era of parity, and I think that is cool. But this still feels like when you head into the season, there are only like 3 or 4 teams a year that can win it, which is the thing MLB is specifically trying to avoid. And then one more just galaxy brain concept of debt.
Galaxy brain. Okay, cool.
We're both business owners. I'm sure a lot of you guys out there are business owners. Sometimes you take on debt as a business owner that can lessen a tax burden in other places. You know what I mean?
Yes. Yeah. I got a good feeling about some guys who have done that with Major League Baseball organizations.
So if you think about our favorite team, Steve Cohen,
Yeah.
and rightfully gets a lot of credit for the last few years operating the Mets at a loss. Is there any benefit for a guy like Steve Cohen with the profit he's making in other fields and industries to operate one of his business ventures as a loss? And also, if it wasn't advantageous for these billionaires to take out tons of debt, why are there provisions in the CBA about how much debt these guys can actually take out and how the Padres are pushing the absolute limit of that, and then they sold for $5 billion with a B?
Yeah, no, it's an insane amount of money. And again, this is not like players against MLB, it's players against the owners. And I think if there's anyone to be mad at, if there's a side that you should take, you should side with the players. That's what you root for. These owners do not care about you. They don't care about you, the fan. They don't care about winning sometimes. They don't care about putting out a good product. They want your money, and they want as much of it as possible. Players all the way. And that's what the Windup's heart stance is going to be this entire time.
100%. Again, we'd like to bring you guys this stuff. If you want more content like this, please let us know. Because I think Mark and I like digging to this on our own. Sometimes it's not the cleanest YouTube video, but
It's not the sexiest, but
No,
but
for
maybe sometimes it's 2:00 in the morning and you're like, okay, they're still hanging out here. That works.
we drag you in with MLB all-time drafts, and then we hit you with labor negotiations.
Yeah, the CBA talks. Because let me tell you, this winter we're gonna be talking about it a lot. So we want you guys to get used to it at this point, because this is not good for the lockout talks.
And again, there's going to be a lockout, different than the strike. The owners are locking out the players at the end of the CBA, not like the strikes of yesteryear. They're the ones who are not okay with the current system. They're the ones that want to change it. And we've heard under the table from people, this is Rob Manfred's legacy. This is what he wants to end with. This is white whale as a salary cap. And
He's made it public that he's leaving Major League Baseball after he does this.
not letting Marvin Miller's Players Association take this sitting down.
Got the best Players Association of all sports. Hope they continue to be the best.
Yeah, this is good. This is gonna be fun to talk about for the next year. Not actually, I would love to talk about real baseball, but we just have to talk about this.
But that's what we got for you guys. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Make sure you're subscribed to the Windup if you want to hear more labor negotiation talks, or if you just want to hear more baseball, this is the place to do it. Same thing with our podcast on Apple, Spotify, Google, wherever you get them. Drop us a rating, drop us a review. James, you could follow him where?
James Shiano.
And I'm Draft Nick Mark. We'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace out.